Hey folks, what's up? We are up again with our in continuation with our DevOps series, and again we have with us our expert speaker, Mr. Vishwas Narayan, who will be delivering the session on Azure with GitHub Actions for most of the service. This session is also going to be a pretty interesting session, so hope you all are going to learn and enjoy the session with our interesting speaker. Till then, please stay tuned with the speaker. Over to you.
Thank you so much, brother. Thank you so much. And over a course of time, I just realized one thing that, like everybody knows how to do GitHub Actions today, but like approaching it is a different thing. Like today we have Azure Active Directory, which is one of the industry's leading standard for your governance and the policy. Like policy as code, governance as the code was in a form factor of the code till now, as well as even afterwards it will still be in the code, but over a course of time Active Directory really changed the way that we are going to access the cloud. And Azure cloud is something phenomenal because I worked in all the three giants, like the other ones that you can name as well, but I feel that Azure has a little bit more edge toward the security and the field that we are just going to build. And lately I've realized one thing more, that there is no gap between whatever you really wanted to do and everything. So they know the limits of the industry, and they just make sure that they deliver something based on that. And pretty much all the services are in line to the advantages that is required for us. So this is what it is all about. Azure cloud probably is the best form factor of the security that you can be thinking of. And also there are a lot of other things that you can also think about, right? Over a course of time, it's just going to be magical and mystical to think about, like what is going to be the form factor of an access to the cloud, what is going to be the form factor of a data center. Like software defined everything today, software as everything today. So without any further ado, let's just go and share the screen so that you guys can get to know some slides and sort of a things. It takes some time to build me slides, so yeah, let's just flaunt it. So it's a better thing, just a brief. We do not talk about the complexity, adversary, and the chaos, but we will make sure that we talk about how to face them and how to basically tackle them using the DevOps technology. And you can reach out to me on all the social media platforms here. Like I'm available to you. You can discuss anything tech. I'm open for it. So this was how the timestamp looks like. And on the scale of X, there is the decreasing static implementation, and there's an increase in the business logic focus. And this is the timestamp that I'm talking here is like before 2013 and after 2013. And pretty much everybody started their journey with a bare metal server, and then it just evolved as a virtual machine. And that virtual machine gave rise to something called as a Docker. To be very frank with you, containers in Unix, that's a concept which was there back then. Like it's a concept which was there in 1970s. I think founders of Linux actually wanted to do that, but a brief history of containers, I think this is one of the best articles that you can look forward to, because pretty much it has defined everything and anything that is required for the technology today. And over a course of time, I don't know what happened. There was a person called as Solomon Hikes Docker. This person came out with this amazing concept called as Docker, which used the same old Unix and the Linux Wala container concepts, but yet it made a impact in the industry. I think this is one of the best impactful journey that anybody could have taken care about. So it's a virtual machine right now, and now it evolved into the form of a container by taking use of all the technologies that we are talking here. We'll go through the demos on VM, hosting a website on VM, also containers. Yes, we'll be doing that as well using Azure container instances. Then we'll also move ahead with some more experiments as well. So don't worry about that. And then what came to our mind is can we reduce all the complexity that we are having today, and can we really just break out of all the things that we are talking right now? So it's virtual machines which just evolved into containers. Now it's function as service, which is serverless today. And pretty much, Kubernetes is used today, but still has the DNA of Borg and Omega, which is now used for orchestrating your container. What is an orchestration? Let's say a container application gets a hit of 1,000. That's fine. It can be tolerated at one given point of time. What if the same old instance has to be scaled for a million user at one given point of time? Kubernetes really built an impactful move for that. And that's where this entire open source product from the Google, which was donated to CNCF Foundation, became an state of the art for the scalability of it. So people started thinking at the scale at that given point of time. Of course, they were planning for it, but Kubernetes made it much more easier. So today, when we have all these kind of a tech which is just lying with us, it's still DevOps that is required. And to be very frank, even the bare metal today server, which you might think which is old, but today to some extent where there is a security intensive data processing, they still go with an hybrid approach where part of your data will be on a cloud, but most of the critical data will be on your local system. And basically, you're just conversing between the two connected computers. Like one computer which got connected with an IP and the internet connection just started communicating, and DevOps really just define the way in which we are trying to do all these sort of a compute and things like that. Of course, if you guys really want to learn, there are some tunneling process, which is a GRE tunneling. There is a VXLAN and everything. VXLAN. There is an amazing set of concepts which are coming up. Like pretty much, network operations has also been taken into a greater appreciation today. Like we thought that network operations have really gone away from the department of the DevOps or anything, but still people are coming up with much more secure protocols, much more sturdy protocols, which is much more reliant and resilient to all the changes that we are trying to build. So that's what DevOps meant to us, right? DevOps really was the state of the art, which when once it got even introduced to the world, and even today it's still the state of the art. So no doubts about it. So Azure computing services are pretty much the same. This falls under the serverless as well. This is something called as container apps, and this is container instances, VMs, Azure Kubernetes services. All these are just a kind of a compute platforms which is like much more scalable, much more resilient, and much more reliable in the form factor of how can we host a website which is at greater ease. VMs are also pretty much the same. Containers are also the pretty much the same. Azure Kubernetes, you need to have some manifest files. Like even for this, you need some manifest files to push it into the Docker registry or the Azure container registry and so on. So there is always a chance for you. So don't worry if you are a very basic person to the cloud. I don't think so. Just make note of all the things that I'm telling to you right now. Just go ahead with it, and everything will be sorted for you. And all the services that I'm talking here is basically con- basically form factored as in service, like infrastructure as a service, compute as a service, container as a service, platform as a service, and function as a service is your much more of a definition that is moving more towards. And there is iPaaS, which is a logic app. We will also be doing a demo on that, so don't worry about that. So there are different compute services, and there are different ways in which you can access all these kind of instances today. And if you look at a simple architecture which is there here, I think Azure database migration system, that's one of a concept which we will be taking care in the hybrid cloud. But on the Azure services, there is an end-to-end solution for everything. Azure database migration services will also be communicating with a lot of instances, right? So real-time database management systems for VMs and things like that. There is an end-to-end solution in Azure. Like if you want it, you will get it. Let me just go to the next slide. Next slide, you will get to know how rigid the entire infrastructure is all about. So what we really require is a set of boards which does a lot of planning and plotting for all your DevOps thing. And there is always a repository which will come into the picture like, hey, where can I store my code? My code is money. And now you have an end-to-end service here. And now pipelines are nothing but an easy way of saying you have a set of Linux commands. Can it be automated for hundreds of builds as soon as you change the code? Like every time that you just make some changes in the code, you can't just go out and say that, hey, Docker run minus IT or just Docker build minus T and things like that. So pipelines just make your life much more easier and much more reliable because you are bound to write good quality code because all these steps have been automated right now, and you get the test results and the train and not the train result, it's machine learning by the way. So it's a test result of that entire code base that you had done. How is it going to sit on a server? How is it going to be applicable? And all these things will come into the picture. And over a course of time, Azure test plans are always there for you. Like there is always a need for you to get the test plans and just go on with all different kind of an approaches that you are getting to do, right? So this is where Azure test plan comes into the picture, where you are getting a little bit of a touch and a little bit of an access for all the things that you really want to achieve. Like I just want to test this code. Now let's just plan it out. So there is your Azure test plans. Your Azure test plans is something like, hey, I just have a little bit of time. Can I use it for testing the code? And this is how you're trying to automate all the processes that is there. Of course, artifacts is nothing but the built form of that code. Let's say you have a Python file will be in the form factor of a build, which is in .whl file. That's a wheel file that we just call, and that can be written as a package on pip or else can be used locally as well. So this is how they are. Or else it can just be a raw file system which is just a similar form factor as this kind of a code, which can just be released on, and over a course of time you can still use them and you can start working. So you can see that, right, there is a production which is happening and everything is taken care from here. So I think there are two different environments that I ran to. I think this is one of the repositories that I did yesterday before it, but this was the one which I did with the Python 3.9 version. So this is where 3.9 version is here, and this is still the same old thing. So you can see that, right? If I type in Vishwas, this is from the Azure team itself. So I just did it. So I took the same code base, but I deployed it to two different websites right now. So this is where you can see that, right? There is a two different websites, and there are two different matrix build which has happened, right? You can see that there are two different matrix build which has happened. 23 hours ago, I gave a talk on this, and I just did a demo. I think we didn't talk a lot about it, but today we'll be talking in detail about all these services. Don't worry about that. So, anything that you guys want to say? I think this is the blog. Yes, that's perfect. He has already shared. So, artifactories can be of any form factor. Like it can just be a raw code, or else it can be a packaged version of that code. Can be an exe file, can be an wheel file, can be an npm package, can be a Docker container. Yes, I think yesterday we did a repository called as reactor file, and I showed you guys this, right? The packages. These are nothing but artifactories itself. Like it's in the GitHub container registry, and this is the form factor that's a Docker, and Docker is working here fine. So that's perfect, right? That's one of an open source project which really ruled the market and things like that. And if you see the YAML files that I've written here, it's all for that only. So like I can show you one of the YAML file. It still remains the same. It just goes and sits on that container. So if you do the Docker CI, it's just a build which has happened on this container repository. It's just that build the Docker image, and it's just there for you here. And I've not pushed it anywhere, so it is not in any of the places. So this is going to Azure Container Registry. I'll show you that as well. Don't worry. So it's a simple thing. It's the container registry that I just did yesterday. And in the repository tab here, there is repositories that has been given, and you guys can go click on it. And you guys can see that I've written the same code right now and I've built on it, and now it's working fine for me, right? And there are different versions of it. And if I change the code right now, there will be a huge change that will be happening with this. Probably there is going to be and one more, probably right, there will be one more attention to the code. So right now, this is the key. This is the key that you really want to know. Like, your mindset should be pioneered in such a way that how we can think at the scale deployment, how we can think at the scale security. Like, what if there is an security glitch there, and how can I go through that? And everything should still remain the same, right? So that's why all these DevOps things comes into the picture. Of course, GitHub and Azure DevOps is in the Microsoft instance, so just go ahead and start doing it. So everything will be perfect. So there are different cross clouds which can really work across. Like, I'm just saying hybrid cloud ke liye, I just told the cross cloud. You can think of this as your hybrid cloud, which is on premises. Ka matlab, you have an in-house server which is built and which is connected to internet, and if you host a website, anybody can access it. And you can think this as an AWS, GCP, or else the Azure, any other Kubernetes cluster that is there, any other services. And now you have a service called as an Azure Arc, and you can communicate with the Azure infrastructure. So it will be in one position right now for you, and everything will be sorted. And over a course of time, all the services, I just took one example of an Azure function and I compared it with Lambda and the Google functions. To be very frank, they're still the same. They don't have any sort of an grudge over any person. Like, it's still the same old thing, which is just working there. It's a raw code, which is just executed on your server without you thinking like, what should be my operating system? What should be my everything that you need to consider? The network, the hardware complexity. Can I scale it to an upper version of it? Like, if it's 1 million hits, that's also fine. What if there is 2 million hits? So functions are really an amazing form factor of all the services that you can think. So function as a service is an amazing service that you can think about. So of course, cloud has its own limitations as well, because they run a business using the hardware and the software that is written on it. There is something called as a load balancer, and there is always an access for the compute that is always there. So a load balancer is nothing but a functionality which just says that, hey, let's say your traffic on your website just increases by 100x. And now I am here to distribute the load onto different compute instances that is there. And also, this can be region redundant, geographically redundant, which is like, if you're hosting something on India, there are 3 other redundant regions or 5 other redundant regions. That depends on your strategy, by the way. It's not like a win-win situation. Like, I have deployed it, it has to work. It's never like that. It's you strategizing for it. And load balancer helps in that, and also it gives you a secure connectivity with that compute instance as well. So if there is a sort of an hacking which is happening, if there is an SSL secure certification for a website that is not being properly done or anything, that's going to be a problem. I can see one of the instance where teams didn't really update the certificates which were supposed to be there on the system, and they had a downtime. And that's a simple move that you have to do, right? I'm talking about the bigger companies which does sort of a mistake sometimes like that. So it happens. So just make sure that you have a cloud service provider, you have a technical architect, solution architect, and a lot of people who are just taking that decision for you right now. And that's going to be a very healthy move that you can do for your entire company, because over a course of time, this is how people will be approaching, because it's getting easy, as well as to some extent it also gets complex if none of them have a knowledge about it. So That's where you have to check the ego out and start working. So of course, Azure Load Balancer, what I called was a layer 4 TCP and a UDP protocol wala version, and load balancer distributes the incoming traffic among the healthy VMs and other compute offers for the high availability. That is what we are talking here. So this is how they typically look like. So your 80 is an HTTP traffic and 443 is an HTTPS, and a lot of prior subnets and everything will be sorted, and everything will be just communicating with each other like seamlessly. There is a handoff which is happening if there is a load which is increasing, and there's a seamless low scalability that you're seeing. So load balancer is pretty huge as a concept. And if you think of the other things, of course, there is an DNS service, domain naming service, and things like that. Like there is an awesome amount of things that you can learn over a course of time. So don't worry. We'll go with starting from the VM. We'll go on with the sessions, which is supposed to be taken care of from us. So, of course, there are different skill set that you can start working towards. There is a network security group that you can start working towards. Of course, there you can manage all the things that is required by you with all the security with the load balancer itself, like seamlessly distributing the load. And there is something called as WAF. What is a WAF? So WAF in Azure is nothing but web application firewall. This is one of the best ways to just get rid of all the attacks that you can really get. So web application firewall actually allows only a specific kind of a traffic and a specific kind of a tool that you need to be working towards. And of course, if you can go to this OAS project, it's all this DevSecOps projects that we'll be coming towards, and all these things we'll be talking about is basically a set of services. I think you can remove me from here. That's not a requirement. So yeah. So a set of services that we'll be talking here will be completely immersive. Like all the things are interdependent. Like if you have an sort of an application which can really break, I think there will be a chance that you can save it from getting crashed at one given point of time. So that's where load balancer comes into the picture, and also WAPs also comes into the picture. So there are different ways that you can access and compute, and basically infrastructure of a service is a waste of time. Like you can see that there is a wasted compute resource which is actually available to you right now. But over a course of time, that also just got changed. That also just got revised into different things. There is an ultimate concept called as hypervisors. Like if you think of an hypervisor, there are type A and type B, type 1 and type 2, basically. Type 1 is something like it goes and sits on your entire server, and there is no host OS which is there. Type 2 is something like your VMware or else the virtual box that you download and install from your Oracle. These are the kind of an hypervisors that you can think of today, which is still there on the cloud, which is also there on your laptop. Like you can work on it. So hypervisor types. As I told you, the hypervisor sits on the host system completely, and there are some guest OSs that you will be working towards. I think I had it in one of my slides. I don't know. Oh, I didn't do it for this slide today. Sorry for that, folks. So that's what I'm saying. There is an hypervisor which just comes and sits there. So this is how you will start working. And of course, type 2 hypervisors is also good, but I would say type 1 is good because you can get a number of offers for your operating system that you have. So that's the best part about this hypervisor that we are just talking about today. So typically just keep this kind of an example in your mind and everything will be sorted for you in terms of defining what an hypervisor is. So get that. That's where your virtual machines comes into the picture. Of course, I've written a long theory here, so just go ahead and read that. Don't worry about that. So of course, containers is just an available space of compute that we are talking about. So right now, this is how the system complexity will be look like. So a Docker engine will be a very small entity that will go and sit on your host OS. And now there are libraries and binaries that will be connected and will be seamlessly working as they were working on a VM, but much more efficient by giving you a lot of available space for compute. And the theory goes on like this, it's basically an isolated OS. Like, it doesn't have an entire communication which is happening between your host OS and your uh, container that you have built, but they work seamlessly as they are on a system. Like, they use limited resources, but they work seamlessly. I can give one of the example of one of the sessions that really happened on the Azure developer community, Azure containers for rest of us, Aminari. Let me say you one thing about this session. This session really changed the way that I was thinking about anything about containers. Can you remove me from here? I have pretty big slides, so that's why, like, remove me from here. So that's the full screen that I want. So that's perfect. So keep your full screen throughout the series. So don't worry about that. So sometimes it will just cut off all the things that I wanted to say. So available spaces for compute is always there. So there is a need for you to think about, like, hey, can I really leverage the compute resources? Containers are there, people. You just start working towards it. Containers have that. But an even more efficient solutions is there. That's your function as a service. Let's say today you have an hits on your VMs or anything like this. Like, it's not at that massive scale, but yet there is an huge of an compute resource which you can really do. And later on you will realize that, okay, there are some new functions also being added and they're being hit and everything. So right now what I just defined was just a set of code which sit in the form of a functions on your machine, and now they make an amazing set of decisions out there. Like, how can we just use the compute resources much more efficiently? And this is where you have that easy accessibility for the functions. And if you can think of all these applications, you can think that this green space that I'm talking about here is a reusable compute resource. So right now, the same space which might have been used by a container is now being much more efficiently used by a function. And this is where function as a service comes into the picture, and they define the newest form factor to your code base, that, like, hey, I really make the best use of this. And now you, right now in front of you, you just saw how you can really witness that thing in the form of this diagram, but later on we'll go on with the demos and so on with it. So I've planned a demo on a VM. I would plan a demo on a container instance as well. I've planned a demo on uh, static apps, web app, and function apps, as well as container apps. I can't show that because it doesn't give me an access to tenant ID, but I will show you how to make that as well as some logic app, which is an integrated PaaS services. I think I can give you that slide as well, so don't worry about that. I pass. So logic app. So yes, you guys can go and check this slide, which has a complete introduction to the things that we really want to talk in terms of logic apps. So you guys can go check that out. And that's it from my side, folks, in terms of slides and everything. So I think last slide that I wanted to show was that. Uh, so after this, so you just getting to know that you can reuse the compute much more efficiently on function apps. Just think about this. These are the function app commands that are really used in deploying and publishing your function apps, right? So now all these commands, the init, new, start, deploy, publish, all these things can also be related to some of the other services as well. GitHub and GitHub Actions, of course, there's always this definition which comes into the picture. So yes, of course, there is the vagrant init, vagrant run, and all these things. So run commands will always be there. Terraform init, Terraform plan, Terraform apply, all these things. So these are just some examples to just give you an idea about like how the linguistics doesn't change, but the way in which we're accessing it changes, right? So just keep this thing in mind. Don't have that complex thought that, hey, this is going to be complex over a course of time. And this is something that I would never recommend anybody to take into their mindset and just do the DevOps thing. Like DevOps is not that fancy, but it's it's one of the most fascinating thing that I ever was able to learn. And pretty much I have realized one thing, that you more you try to make it complex, more you tend to really lose the leverage for it. And so on, folks. So I think we have wasted a good amount of time and realizing what is all these things. So let's just go start and create an VM. And now we'll go ahead and create all the repositories, and I'll explain you the manifest file, which is the Docker file here. So yes, I think this is perfect. I can just go ahead and start working towards it. And let's go create a VM, create a Linux VM. So that's always there. So I'll show you how to create Windows as well, so don't worry. So it's a very simple thing. As soon as you create on this, click, this is an iconic magic button that's been created for you. So create a virtual machine, it is there for you, and now you'll be redirected to this entire window. And this window will give you that opportunity to realize, okay, I need to do something big with the VM. So now let's just do Linux VM demo. All right, so there is nothing like this. So let's just go ahead and remove that underscore. If I add an underscore, there will be an error which says that Windows VM names may not contain underscore or dot. That's okay. Let's do Ubuntu. Ubuntu also doesn't contain that. So you can see that, right? It's just an annotation and a naming annotation that you require, and everything will be just taken care seamlessly by your Azure. So of course you can just do that. And I would say I don't want an SSH key because that's one of the unsecure ways to do it. I would say password would be the better option. And as I had explained, Azure Spot instances is just going to give you that leverage to just know what's the cost that is required for running a VM, which is just for a demo or else just for testing an application. Let's just click on the application, see what is the actual definition that we need to learn from. So Azure Spot Instances offers an unused Azure capacity at a discounted rate versus pay as you go prices. So in a pay as you go prices, you'll just be paying just for the existence of the VM. If it's running, then you pay for it. But when it's not running, you don't need not have to pay anything there, and you can start working. So workload should be tolerated, as an infrastructure loss is much more not that well considered. So make sure that when you're testing an application on a VM or something, just use it. And if you're not satisfied by why is there a requirement of an VM, yeah, I think you guys can go ahead and check this entire session. He has explained very good about what's a container and how it's working, and pretty much he has really done an amazing job in explaining about it. So just go ahead and reach out to Amir Jan, Amir the hacker. He has an amazing GitHub repository as well, so you guys can go check it out. So of course, check out this OAS projects that you are supposed to write. So that will be awesome. So wait, we'll go on step by step creating a VM, and we'll go on explaining everything in a scratch. So as soon as I clicked on this Azure VM instance as in spot instance, there are two pop-ups which just came in and said that, hey, do you want to have a capacity only planning, or else do you want to make a price in the capacity planning? So both of them have their own use cases, and just do capacity planning for right now and then go ahead with all these things. Of course, size VM will always be taken care here, so you guys can think of what should be my versions and everything that I need to be working towards, and this will be there for you. And of course there are different ways to get the pricing tiers and everything, so go ahead with it. I'm taking Vishwas Narayan, and I just use the same old thing. And password. So this is my password that I just put in here. So it requires an uppercase, lowercase, number, as well as some special symbol. If I don't do one, just look at the magic of it. It just says that there is an requirement for all these things. And look at that. You know, right now you just saw that there is a requirement of one uppercase, one lowercase, one special character, one number, and it should be 12 to it should be in a range of 12 to 72 characters, and it's there for you right now. So let's just do that. So that's what we did, and I need to confirm the password as well. So that's what we did, and now we confirm the password and we'll save it, because who types it again and again? And of course, when we have used this, we are not supposed to allow a public port to be open, right? So what we do is we just do none, and all the traffic will never have an access through any sort of a public inbound port. That means nobody can enter your system without the permission of it. Like if I allow the selected public port and there will be SSH, probably somebody might download the PIM file, or somebody who knows my password or anything can really enter. But if I don't allow it, nobody can do that, because only a specific kind of a traffic will be allowed. So that is always considered through other resources that will be created on a VM. We'll also talk about that, so don't worry. So what about that other resources? Let me just go to one of the resource managers here, and we'll actually review and create this so that we can spend some time talking about the resources there. So you can see that, right? If I had chosen it, probably it would have been 0.9 something dollars per hour, but now it's very easy. And just create it. And now let's just wait for the submitting the deployment until this is coming up. So the deployments are happening, so that's cool, and we'll go ahead with the resources which comes up with that. So this was the previous VM that I had created. It's named as Vishwas, but now I want to enter this resource group. So now I click on this resource group, and now I go ahead and I can see that there are different resources that has been given. So this is a public IP, which just says that this is the way that you're going to access your compute outside of the premises from the Azure. Like if I want to access it through my uh, VM that I have right now here, like my entire laptop that I'm talking right now, will just be going and accessing through this IP. And a network security group is one of the best functionality. So it's a network security group. And this is a functionality that is required for you to run an entire network protocols and the rules for it. And this is like an entirely like a sentinel that we can talk here. So it's a sentinel. What is a sentinel? It's a security protocol for the secure infrastructure. So I just did that. So a sentinel is always a little definition that you require in order to make some changes in your deployment. Like it has to be much more secure, and there has to be some inbound rules that is required for you, or else it's going to be so messy and probably somebody can hack into you. So this is where network security groups come into the picture. And of course, all these rules also gets applicable to the NIC. What is a NIC? It's a network interface card. What's a network interface card? It's just like a modem which is just attached to your computer. A network interface card just says that this is a machine which has this IP, and through the entire world, probably it knows that IP on the system, but to access this, what I'm calling the public IP which has been there. So there is a requirement of a NIC. What does this NIC do? It just basically connects to the internet to your local machine or as the virtual machine that you just created, and that is what your network interface card is all about. And of course, Azure defined virtual network is already being created. This virtual network is going to be an infrastructure which is going to keep all the above things, the network security uh, card or network security group, and the sentinels and the NIC, the VM which is being created, much more secure, which is packed inside the Azure infrastructure, and that IP will only be known for an Azure infrastructure itself. And of course, Bastion is one of the best ways to just have an access to all these kind of a compute, and it's a best way. What's a Bastion? If I had SSH into any of the server, I would have had accessed it on my command line, and a Bastion is much of a secure way. There is one more layer of security which is being added, and now you can seamlessly access without any of the security threats, only allowing a specific traffic to be there. So even if you create a Bastion, there is a requirement for you to create some more IPs, there's some more resource groups out there. So we'll go ahead and create that as well. So don't worry. So yeah, by the time we were finished talking, it was already done. And now, how to create that bastion? It's very simple. There is a concept called as connect in your VM concept. So this is a way that you can connect to your VM from your local system or else from any places that you are SSHing or else remote desktop protocols and right now. So there is this create desktop or else the bastion thing that is just coming up, and see that there is already an addition of subnet which happened, and there is an addition of bastion resources which are being generated. And this bastion resources was pretty different, I think, back then, but I don't know how this has changed today. If you had allowed probably the SSH port to be accessed, what it would have had also asked was and create an exclusive VM for it, VNet for it, so that it can be accessed very easily. So an exclusive VNet would have been created here, and it will take some time. So by then we will start off one application which I had installed it, so I can start this. It will take some time to start, and then we can go ahead with it. So it's Windows here. I can start this. I can bastion into it because I had made it. So it's Vishwas, and I'm just doing the same old thing, and I think it's now okay. Pop-up has been blocked. Allow the pop-ups. Yes. So now just connect. So I just want you to connect. Which was Narayan was what I named it. I don't know. So let's see. So this will be the public IP for it when it starts. And keep it in your mind once you just reinitiate the connectivity which has to happen for your entire infrastructure, it's going to be different. Close, and I'm going to connect it in the new ones here. And you can see that, right, there is a server manager which is already running and a local server. And on a Windows 10, I am running a Windows 10 right now. I don't know why they didn't upload the 2022 version, that is your Windows 11. Like it should have been done by now, but like they are not confident. I don't know. So you can see that, right? Even inside that entire VM that I just bastioned into, I am able to access it. So I think this will bastion. I think this will be now be in the updating state. Yes, of course, there are some security checks which will happen with the Azure infrastructure and so on. So of course, you can have a good access to it. So you guys can see that, right? You can really go ahead and check out all these infrastructure right now here. I think let's just create one more Linux VM if we just screw up that entire thing, because I don't know whether the new demo, yeah. So Vishwas Narayan, virtual machine name. So let me just give a password as Vishwas and the same old password and the same old password. And I allow none of the traffics to go. So it's very seamless, right? Once you get an access to it, you can see that how you can really manage it. And later on, you can also really change the way in which that memory has to sit. So there's a concept called as disk as well. So there is a concept called as a disk, and this disk is going to say what is going to be the storage and what kind of a storage is required. And OS disk type will always be there. So there is a premium SSD, standard SSD, and HDD, which is already being created. Encrypt the host. If you just do the encrypt the host, and probably what you do on your local system will also be done there, but it's not being supported here. And later on, you can still do as much as you want, but you can really change it and really change the way it is. But SSD is like the best version that you can just go ahead and start running it. And of course, this resource will be running. And of course, validation passed, and we're good to go to the VMs. And if you go ahead with the VMs, I think pretty much you can access anything and everything through the Bastion. So don't worry about that. So Bastion is always be ready for you. So I think this is Linux. I think I can show you one of the Windows thing. I think you guys can just go ahead and hit on the IP that I'll be giving to you folks. So let's just go ahead and hit on the IPs. So this IP, just go and hit it even after me just completing the session. Like it will be there, or else I might have deleted it sometimes. So that will also be there. And if you can hit on this IP, I think probably this might not work. But the Linux one should be working because this is a Linux one that I just built. I think this will give you this entire thing. Oh, sorry for that. Extremely sorry for that. So you can see that, right? So there is an two IPs which are being there, but since I didn't do any of the configuration, so that's why there is nothing just that's working here. But you guys can go ahead and start hitting on these IPs, and you can see the magic of it. So go ahead, hit on the IPs, and you will get the working of each and every component that we are looking forward to. All right, there's a different IP. Oh, sorry for that. So I had written a simple code on Vishwas, and I think that really popped up here. So it's a very simple thing. What I just did was a very simple move. So yeah, so it's a darker one. So I think I can change the text, but let me just go ahead and just do it. So it's a very simple move that I did. I just wanted to run on one of the server. So I to do the same thing on my reactor file as well. So I am saying my Docker engine that you know what, anytime that you start running or building this entire module, first have an operating system on your entire infrastructure. So I am saying, let's just do one thing. Let's just use a file system, which is from the Debian, which is unstable, but it has a version of Slim. We can use that. Or else there is a version from the Snake. We can use that as well. So Snake will give much more secure ones. So we can start using it. And you can use the Ubuntu latest. That's also fine. So what we just did was a very simple move. I just installed a file system which will react as an OS. A Debian is a Linux distribution, and this was also done. And now on a VM, I need not have to do any sort of an installation like this, and it seamlessly works for me. And later on, I did this command: sudo apt-get install Apache 2. And if you see that there is already a version that I've installed, but if it was not there, it would have said install it. So let's say Nginx. So now it showed me that do you really want to continue? So I will say yes for sure, and I will go ahead with that installation. Let's see whether this IP will work again because I'm installing a new way of getting this entire infrastructure of VM and everything. So if it works, that's good. So what I did was a very simple thing. So it's clear. I just cleared it all. That's a simple command there. Hard. Just comes. I don't know why. So it's a simple move that I did later on, and I know that let it be in nginx or anything, the working directory will always be this, right? It's slash var slash ww slash html. So what I just did was a very simple move. I just told Mr. VM go to cd slash var www and html, and I did this and I created an html file. Just look at the fact that I can go ahead and I can show you what I can do with this index.nginx debian slash html, right? Slash index dot html index.nginx, oh, dot nginx debian.html. Look at this. I just have an Nginx server which is just installed on my system, and this entire thing is running on an Apache server, which just has that initial command of this Vishwas Narayan that I just wrote. So I can show you what was this all about. So it's a command called as cat, and if I do index.html, it will show me that I just wrote some stupid code. It is just some simple HTML tags and a header tag, and it still works the same way. And this is how it is, right? As soon as you hit on it, any of the local files here, like let me just go ahead, click on any of the local files. Let me just go ahead and click on this. I can download this or else git clone. I don't think my sister has git clone here. So I'll go to the folder. I'll just do extract all. I'll just do index.html and the website starts working. That's super awesome, man. I can still do this on my local system as well. So it's a very simple move. I can just git clone it on the same old application. I can rm that files. Let's see what if I do rm of the files. Rm index.html. Permission denied. Okay, so let's do git clone of this entire website and you will see the magic of it. So it will overwrite some of the applications. All right, where are you? Static website files. Oh, sorry for that. So it's a static website file, static web app. I'm going to git clone this. People in this here. Git is already installed, so git clone. So static web permission div. All right, git supported, but it doesn't come. But like that's not a problem. Git clone. Oh, all right. So I need to go away from this entire repository. So I think probably I can git clone it now. I can do git clone. Oh, since I didn't allow the other traffic to come and sit here, it's not coming in. But that's okay. We can go ahead and we can start working towards it, like in the future. But this is how you get the files done. So even if I wanted to delete that VM, it didn't start working, like not the VM, the index.html, and now you have it, right? So there you go, folks. I just deployed a website on an VM using the IP, and of course I can really redirect it later on and things like that. But there are different ways that you can also deploy other applications as well. So let's just go ahead and click on all these things that we really want to achieve. Let's say I want to build it on a Snake application. So I want this, and I will comment this, and I commit it to the main branch. See the magic? The action started working, and you will see that over a course of time, this will get updated on the ACI. I'll be showing a step-by-step approach. We just now did a VM Wala experiment, and now we'll go ahead and create some more of the content for your containers, as well as static web apps, function apps, logic apps. And of course, I can show you a demo on an ML, so that's not a complete thing. And I think I can do this. So that's perfect. I just trained a model on one of the applications, and you guys can see that I can show you how to deploy that as well. So we'll go ahead step by step with some GitHub actions, as well as some DevOps thing that we really wanted to show, and so on. So you can DevOpsify this, but there's a catch here. Like, you need to know where the traffic has to go and sit. You need to go what should be the file system that I need to be taking care about, and everything will be sorted for you. And pretty much, when you are accessing something as big as a VM, you also need to be very careful with all these applications that you're running, or else it will be very bad. So I just triggered an application and it started working. Of course, we'll go ahead with the VM demo and everything. We'll go on with all these updation and everything. So don't worry, folks. So I think this was the folder Sonar Cloud Scan. I don't mind. Why did this go down? Build containers. All right. No, I don't want it. Is it going and sitting in ACR? That's perfect. If it's going and sitting in the other targets, let's see what was supposed to be the target that I was supposed to build on. So let's just do one thing. Let me just do one thing. Let me just show you what I did. The similar way of initializing the secrets and everything and building it, I just triggered a new pipeline and it started working. So that's all right. And all workflows, let's just go ahead and start looking at this and this. What really went wrong? Oh, since I had put it as low, I think that was the catch. I think yesterday we had put it as low, right? So that was the catch with the scan. So I think I had put it in low. I think I can go and change that. That's not a problem. So I can say critical or else I. Oh, so it's now high. This is now high. And just see the magic of it. I just commit the code and I need not have to write those shiny looking Linux commands anymore. And everything is being sorted there. So that's what I call the magic of this cloud and the building of all these processes. Like, I just love this. I just love this. Mm, okay, so one container build didn't happen. That's not a big issue. So let's see what was that build going to go. Oh, oh, I just did it for the Christ University, so that's okay. So it's a simple thing. I can I can see all the changes that had been affected on my Docker Hub. Just Narayana Ari, and if you can see my profile, there you go, folks. I think GitHub Actions Docker demo. There was a recent update which happened. Of course, there are different repositories that we consider, and pretty much it, which was Narayan. Yep, you can see that. That's Vishwas Narayan. That's Vishwas Narayan or something. Where does this action sit? All right, that's not a problem. I think this got pushed. Where did this build go? Push to Docker Hub. And wait. Wait. Push to GitHub packages. Yes, it's already been pushed. Okay, simple as that. Let's not worry about the targets. It should have been sitting here. The starred ones, or is there anything? Oh, wait. The starred ones are here. So audio train is here. Vishwas Narayan. I can just go ahead and check that out as well. So Vishwas Narayan RE slash Vishwas. I think if I see the tags, it should say me that it was done a month ago. I don't know where did this build go, but I'll go to the main repository and I will collect it. That's not a problem. So I can go here and I can say I need this. So come up and give me the code. And what I will just do is I'll show you how the triggers were being affecting on the containers here, the repositories. So you can see that, right? I had much of these repositories. I had shown you one, it became one. That's perfect. I think recent build happens to be 2 mounted yesterday. That's also good. But you can delete the repository, add the repository, and so on. So don't worry about that. Everything will be taken care here. So better that we just go ahead and just do the ACI as your container instances. So what I told, the same old VM will be in the form of this instance right now. So it's very simple. The magic button, like it's like an compute instance that is just given to you, and now you're putting that Docker file onto it. It's a simple explanation. I can give it on whiteboard. So yes, I screwed up that demo on this one. So very simple. What it just gives is a compute instance right now, which has Docker engine already installed. Engine or any of the container orchestration, like everything will be taken care through ACI as well. But orchestration doesn't happen until and unless you have the swarm set up. But if you have Kubernetes on one of the containers that you really want to say, Kubernetes can behave the same way as Swarm. So don't worry about that. So all these orchestrations can also happen, but you need the Swarm to be there. You need to build using the Swarm. That's it. Not a big deal. So it's a YAML file or a Docker engine or else any of the container thing, container runtime, and now over which your container that you built sits. So this is what I was talking about when we talked about the ACI. So let's say a new demo one. This is going to be it. And now when I just want to type some Vishwas Narayana something. Vishwas Narayana. Demo one. So match found. So perfect. And availability zone, you can make it 1, 2, 3, or else anything. What is an availability zone? You're just making it much more geo redundant. Like something like if I hosted now in US West or something, it will be there in the 3 other data centers which will be there. So there will be obviously a constant uptime that you will always be taking care. So Docker container or other registry, I had downloaded the GHCR. Of course, it has really found that. And I wanted to run on a Linux. And of course, the size of the system can also be considered here. Like you can go and change the size of the containers which you will be running. You can say, I want 8 virtual CPUs. It's impossible. Like 1 or 4 is the cores that is required for running it. So I say one core something. Or it's like 16 is what they are allowing for memory to be there. GPUs, I don't want any of the GPUs. To be very frank, A80, P100, V100 is all Tesla architecture and it's all very costly. So don't touch it. So just say if you want, you can just put it as an OK, and it will start reflecting on it. And there are zero GPUs, and there is full stack 16 GBs of RAM and a 4 virtual CPUs that will be initialized. And now if you click on this create thing after the validation, after saying thcr.io.image will be your one thing, submitting deployments will happen. Of course, this will take time, and later on, after some time, this will also be there for you. So DevOpsifying this is also very easy. You can just go ahead, click on the actions, choose any one of it. You just ran it on a ACR, right? So now let's go and create a status with all these things. So new ACR is always there. So Docker image is already been considered and everything. So let's just create and see the work files. Let me just start editing it. So view work file. All right, it is not coming up. That's okay. So one main also runs the same thing. Like now you have built it, right? It's a very simple move later on. What you can do is Azure containers. If you can just say that, you can see that there is container function action, container registry login, container image scan, container registry build, and so on. Deploy to container instances. If you can click on it, and you will get an n number of repositories for here. Just copy it and paste those things. Right now I think this has to go here. I think this is in the namespace, right? So it's in a name, so I think I can do this. Oh, it got changed. So tap until you get all the things sorted. So you can name all these resource group and everything. So just name it. You will have all the credentials from your entire repository. Just go ahead and just apply it. You will be sorted forever. So cancel the changes. I'm just doing it because no time, less time here, folks. So right now, if you hit on this IP, there will be an application up and running for you. That's the same old container that we just built. So yes, it will take some time. I think I can show you that even here. The reactive file. If I see the GitHub pages, this will be the same old thing that will be appearing there. So of course it will take time. So let's just be patient. So yes, scanning done. So scanning was already done. With scan, Docker image scan. I think it really passed out all the things. It said, okay, it's high thing that you really wanted to access, and I gave you the high access. So even if you can look at all these kind of and services which is already built, this is an end-to-end DevOps lifecycle that you're building right now. And Azure ML has everything DevOps. Like Azure is DevOps at the end of the day. Like all the services are catering to the DevOps. Like you don't have that hassle of doing this or that for all these services. Easy integration. Just know where to keep the secrets and everything. That will be sorted for you. Man, deployment succeeded. I need to see the deployment, right? I'll go to the instances. I'll hit on that IP. Let's see whether this IP will work on this tab. Else you guys can go to this IP. I'll just share it in the comment section, and you guys can go hit on the IPs that are there, and you can see that this okay. It's taking some time because it's a huge instance which is running right now, but this will be up and running. Don't worry about that. So it takes time. You just need a little bit of run. Everything will be sorted. I think Bastion was being created. That's perfect. I can delete all the resource groups and everything, and everything will be sorted in the later part. So don't worry about that. Four. Lot of things, folks. Lot of things. So hit on that if it works. That's good, or else that application was already being shown. So now let's just go to the static web apps. So it's a very simple thing. I just I just pretty much attached the GitHub repositories and it's really worked well for me. So let me just do one application, then you will see the magic of this static web apps. So if you want to really get to know the applications, I think you guys can go check it out. Captain, okay. So you guys can hit, oh, not this IP. I just want you guys to go to the static web apps. Where are you? So if you hit on this, the application which was there is a shopping list app, and that pops up. And there you have it, folks. An end-to-end product which was being launched for you. You can just make a list of the products, which was na, 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 and something like 12, save, and now this will be saving it on, and it will be giving the list and about product wish list and everything got sorted for you, like within a click, and everything which is done from your side. So that's okay. So let's just deploy one and see. So delete this. What I will give, I will be deleting it, and you can go ahead for this free tier or anything, so it will be there for you. So I can choose any of it, and I'll give an third party authorization, but this will be the first party authorization because Microsoft owns GitHub, by the way. So I'll go to the organization, and which was that repository that I was talking about. So let's say a .NET application. .NET application is here, so let's just go ahead and run it. .NET static app, yep, and the main branches were also being detected. And this is a .NET add. What I choose is a Blazor runtime. So it's a build preset that we just have it. And you can see that there is a client app www root. And if you see that there is a client which says all the things about your entire Blazor application. And now there is a root which says that, and API will always be generated. If you think of the local file that is always being built, you can see that on the push there is some sort of an option which is being given, and of course there is an app location, everything is being given, and where to host it, it's using the secret which is being updated by the Azure team on your repository, just like the way in which you go and upload the secrets there. It's just doing manually, automatically, just for you. Manually, you need not have to do anything here. So just go clear it off, and yes. So the deployments are happening. So it will take some time, and then you can hit on the new static apps that you will be building. Very cool about all these kind of a technologies that you need not have too much of a work here. You just need to just go ahead and just make that wish, like, hey, I just want to just run this kind of an application here, and there you have it. Azure has all the support for it. So I just think, for the static web apps, it's just like it just chooses something from the just a blank repository of the dictionary, which is having a good amount of names and things like that. And wait, let's see what's the status of the build which is happening. And actions is still running. So yeah, that's the biggest challenge. I think probably it will be done in 3 minutes something. So it will take some time. If it doesn't, it will be like this. If it does, it will be like this here. So right now you can think about all these kind of applications that you will be building, and you are just seamlessly automating it once you write the code, and you have the deployment every time that you just change the code. That's it. That's what DevOps is all about. So static web apps, and I think I have a good set of repositories which have good amount of actions which is also being built. This is just a simple, wait, not this repository. This is the simple repository which has all the uh, containers and everything that is not being configured at all, but yet it's working. Like you guys can see that, right? Let's just go for this. Where is this static web apps? It's here. So there are GitHub pages which you can go ahead. If you can see, view the deployment. This will be the application here, right? And there is this one. I think this was the application that I wanted to see. So the kind flower is this. This is the new static web app index.html. So yeah, you can see that. So there is a purple glacier thing. Let's go and check that out. So that's also there. So I think that's a free tire, and this recent one that I started building is an it's not tire, so I'll be deleting it at any given cost for sure. So yes, so there's a new one which is being created. So this is the kind flower thing. Oh, this is a blue bond. So it's basically named in this fashion, but this same application will be built there, so don't worry about that. I think this is still running. So let's see what happened to the status of the blue pond. Yep, the blue pond is also working. So that's there for you folks. The actions just got completed, and you can just really go and access that website, and everything will be sorted for you. Just look at the fact that I just named the two web apps Vishwas and Vishwas here as well, so you can see that, right? I just named them two Vishwas and Vishwas, but Azure had some dictionary, and it just gave out some URL like this, and it was sorted. So this is how it is. So Azure Web Apps, if you can go out and check this out. So App Service is what we have. App Services is here. And you can see that, right? Even my function app has its own web application which is up and running. So if you can hit on this, it will always be targeting all these applications. So it's still a function app that we just deployed. I think I can show you this application, which can show you what is the application for this. So that's also there. So your Azure static web apps and everything is being sorted. So let's see what's the next big thing that I just wanted to do from here. So of course we'll go on with one machine learning demo. So don't worry. So what I did was a very simple thing. I just created a web app. I'll create a new, delete this. Also, and I'll say something which was Narayana demo delete something. So I'll just name it, and I will still be in the free tier account, but SKUs can be changed at any given point of time. So let's say I am just going ahead and creating new demo delete this. All right, I'm just going to delete this new demo delete this. So it's been there. So I'm just saying runtime stack. I'll just choose Python for now. Let me just do 3.9. And of course, this web app is now available for free instances right now. So if you change this one, this is also going to change. But in my region, it's only available as a free tier. So I can just do free tier here. Or else if you can change that instance which is there for you. So just see that I just changed the place, and I'm just getting the free instances and everything sorted. So I'll just apply as a free tier, or else I can apply for It's not. What if I forget to delete it? So let it be in F not. So it's a simple thing. So I just started creating it, and I go to the deployment center as an application. So I'll just go for one deployment center. Where are you? So I'll just go to a deployment center. Let me just delete this and let me just come back to how we can just go there. So yes, and lot to learn from Azure. So any questions and queries? So Captain said okay, so that's not a problem. So if you start browsing, probably this will be an error, but Django Web Quick App. So you can see that, right? This was the application that I wanted to run, but this didn't run. So I'll not be considering this. So I think deployment already succeeded. I can go there and I can do a new one build as well. So that is how it looks like. But let me just show you from an end-to-end application itself. So I chose Python 3.9 here as well. So it will be in the local demo itself. I can choose different regions as well, but let's just go ahead with all these things that we really want to work towards. I just love the magic of this, man. Complete magic. So yes. So yes, it just got booted up, and now I'm choosing the source. Where is the source? And since I had logged in with the GitHub, it knows where my GitHub repositories, and I can say ms learn of Flask. If I say Flask, it will show me Flask. So Flask web app, I just choose that repository and I choose the branch which I want to commit. Use the thing, and I will just go ahead and I just do that, and it's the same old GitHub Actions thing that is being given to you right now. I save it. Just look at the magic of it. It's now going for the setting of the deployment, and now the same thing what you just saw there will be there for you here. So you can disconnect it. The GitHub thing will be removed, and look at the fact that the workflows just got updated. So I think this repository is part of the 3 web apps that we are going to build. So to it, I have an butterfly which is coming here for my thing. Oh God, man. I have a butterfly which came in my room. So let's see what's the status of the action. Of course, this action is going to take 4 minutes or something to run. Let's see whether it will get updated soon, because this is an overrun action, by the way. Like, I've run it many times actually. So we can go ahead and we can start running it. So by then, if you have any questions, do ask for it so we can go ahead and we can start working towards it. So the status of the action is just going to take a pretty good amount of time. So if I had not done it in the live session, probably would have told, okay, it happens in a fraction of a second, but no. It has its own installation of the steps, which just says installation of the dependencies and all these things, right? I'll just show you the builds which are already being run. So see that there is an installation of dependency. As soon as you do pip install requirements.txt, it's still done the same thing. So it's simple. It's not that complex as well. And by the time the action is running, I can show you some of the demos of the other applications as well. So this is the static one. I think I can show you some of the URLs. This is the .NET application, and see the magic of it. Like, it just gave me logs of all the application as if there is an entire IT team behind me working for it. Like, it knows everything that is going on inside your environment. It knows everything that is going on in your domain and so on. So you can see that. So application insights, if you go, you have to set it, but let's see. there were logs and everything which was supposed to be taken care. So let's see what's the overview of it. So you can see that, right? What's the request that has been accepted, what is the amount of clicks that used to happen, and everything is taken care here. So let me just hit on all of these. So this was a React application. I just wrote it, and I think this was some normal HTML and a CSS application that I just gave. This is an Blazor application that we just had as a demo. I think Python resources demo that's being run. And of course, there are different actions that we just did. So let's see. This is the new build, new demo of web apps. It's still going to be the same old Python application, but let's see how much time it will take for booting up. And also, let's see what's the status of those applications which we had deployed. So right now it just gave me a lot of logs. So see, there is an SSL certification set and TLS certification set, lot of things which have been taken care here, and you need not have to do much of it. All the matrices will come to you. CPU time, it's here. If you want, you can just add as many matrices, add a new chart, and you can say average response time. Yes, it's always there for you. Average response time is for like 4 seconds or something. Like see the magic of it, like how much of an care has been taken for all the matrices that you need as a developer. So these are all the boilerplate codes which is available for your application. So you can still go ahead and you can just set all these matrices and everything, so it will be sorted. So how much of the data in and how much of the data out, everything is being taken care of here. Handle count, yes, everything. Like this will be an end-to-end DevOps that will be showing. So DevOps is not just the tools of CI/CD; it's all observability, monitoring, and all these chaos engineering and everything. So pretty much you just do the same thing. I had the same code and it just ran the same way everywhere. So perfect. This is also what DevOps is. So deploying to different environments, strategizing for it. There you have it. DevOps completely done. And of course, there are different ways that you can also do different functions as well. So let's see whether the container instance IP is running. Where are you, container instance? So let's say container instance, and this was the container instance. This was the IP for it. Let's see whether the IP gets triggered now, but it is going to take a lot of time because there is a huge amount of compute resources that we did. So I'll just delete it. That's not a problem, but like it's just an application that I wanted to show. Like it still works the same way, right? So don't worry about that, and everything will be sorted. So container instance is successfully destroyed. Let me just refresh it. It should not be appearing. But why is it appearing now? That's okay. Not a big problem. It's very simple also. Like you can go ahead and start running it. So we knew that how to run all these function and everything. So you can see that, right? There are different features, SSLs and everything. So of course, deployment slots can also be done. The blue green deploys what you have, you can do it here as well. So that's the best part about it. Deployment center, if you go, there will be a new change that will be running and so on. But like, let's see what's the next challenge that we can face here. So now I had one function which was already being created. I can create some more functions. I can say I need a template. Like I just do timing triggers or else anything I can do. So this was a template which was created for your .NET application, and if you see the code and the test, it will still be available as a .NET application here as well. So right now, what you just did was you just have a function app, and now you did the blue green deploys for it. Like if you want a timing trigger, just goes timing trigger, or else it will just be a normal trigger as it is. So run it. Let's see. Master host key. So 202 input accepted. Let's see what's going to happen. And this is a timing trigger, right? So it is obviously going to take a lot of time, which was first. This is an error. Let's see what how does it behaves for an error. So you can see that there is a real-time log which happened. So function.json, if you see, you get to know what is the code that was always being triggered. So this is something as good as a cron job, which is like a repetitive task. You just go ahead and start working, and this is where it is. So test and run, it's still the same thing. So you guys can go here and check out the functions, which is just an HTTP trigger, and you'll get to know everything about it. So I just click on the code under test, which is on the developer tab here, and see the magic of it. I get all the code is required for it. If I test it, let's say I say Vishwas Narayan, I get the things. So you're pretty much sorted if you just know where you just want to trigger. And of course, you can get the URL and you can go here and type in and name equal to Vishwas. Let's see the magic of it. If I had not given this trigger, it would have gone HTTP trigger and a function is being executed. And if I just give this trigger, which is right here, this will be executed completely. Oh, simple thing, hopscotch.io. If you just go here, hopscotch.io. So API documentation and everything will be taken care. So hopscotch. Wow, hopscotch is doing pretty good. So let's say an API trigger that I want to do. So I had named this thing and I will be giving this as a parameter as a name. I say Vishwas Narayan. I also say name. I say, okay, Varun. Varun was there. Name is here and I say who is there. So Poonam is one of another friend who is there for us. And if I say send, it will say send and it wants to use a little bit of cookies. That's okay. And now we are using the proxy here. And now I just delete this and I can say that, hey, Varun, I just want to delete this. And of course, Upscotch is an amazing tool where you can work on all these documentation and everything. So status code 200 of time 5, 18 milliseconds and size is 86 bytes and everything is being taken care here. So one of the best tools that you can really go and work towards. And so on, folks. This is how you just create an HTTPS trigger. And there is a logic apps. Of course, you guys can go and create that. Similar to creating your Azure functions. I'll show you how you create an Azure functions. Go to function apps, create it, and you get the same thing that you really want to work towards. Like let's say Python 3.9 is the latest version. So I just do that. I just name it as Vishwas Narayana something. Okay, so it's a unique name and now it's being sorted. You review the create. There will be a creation of the resources like this. Simple thing. Don't make it too complex. Just go to the functions tab here. Click on this and you are good to go. Create your own functions like this. HTTPS trigger and you are good to go and do whatever you want. You can use cloud trigger, Kafka outputs. Like these are the triggers that you can really get to. And everything is sorted for you, right? Create it within a seconds. The code will also be there. Just click on it, refresh it. HTTPS trigger 2 will always be there. Click on it. The same old application will come to you. And you have a function app URL. Just go ahead, run it. It will be there for you right now. So yes. And apart from that, I had one more demo on logic apps. Why I want to show you that logic apps wala demo, because there are different explanation that goes on behind the logic apps. Like it's like the serverless wala, an integrated pass version of the serverless functions. But it's partially true, but it's an integrated pass. And it's like plug and play things. And nothing here is like you need to code explicitly. And nothing here is like you need to go ahead and just do everything here, right? So you can go ahead and create a new delete this voila thing, and you can also go ahead and type in Vishwas Narayan something. Like just go ahead, and there are different ways to even deploy it on the logic apps as well. So you can say which region, like you can see that, right? It's if it's a workflow thing, it's just a plug and play thing. If it's a Docker container, it has everything built in a form of a code. And a standard and a consumption have a different ways of thinking about it. So if you say consumption model, it doesn't come up with any of the Docker containers or anything as in support. Enable log analytics, you can do that, and there'll be a default logging system that will be created as a workspace, and you can log every instances. And now, if you can click on any one of it, like let me just click on one of the things that I created. So you can go to the run trigger is always there. Where is the app designer? So this is the designer tool. It's a very simple thing. Let me just go to the blank one which I created. Of course, resources creation will take a lot of time. So let's just go to it. Wait. So designer, where are you? So you can see that, right? If you put it in the consumption model, doesn't come with the designer. So it's just like the code that you're just pushing in. But if you just go for the standard one, it will just be there. So let me just create a new one, standard one. So already created one. So it's a workflow thing. If I just review and create, it will just create a new one. Just see the magic of it. So runtime stack will be Node.js 12 LTS long time support, where you need not have to do much of it as a code. Can just create it, and every little code that is required, it will be created by Azure Logic Apps itself. So submitting the deployment, it's just going to take place in a time, so don't worry about that. By then, you can look at all these compute instances that you want to run, like everything. This is just a VM which is just attached to your ML service. That's it. It's not a big deal. You too can do it at any given point of time. So let's see how we can deploy this as well. So later on, we'll go ahead with it, but we'll just look at one demo of this and we can go ahead. So let's just go to the already created one. I can show you one of the URL which I had created. I think this is the deployment center. So sorry for that. So Logic App new demo is here. So you can see that, right? There was no designer which was coming up here. So if I want to run this trigger, I can run this, and all right, that's there. But like I need the URL, right? I need this URL. So if I just run this, it says just click. See the magic of it. If I just keep running it, will just be there. So code view, you are getting all the resources which is there required for you here, and you just had it on spot. So you just clicked it, was the result of it. So this is what I call an end-to-end infrastructure being automated for me, right? I can go to hopscotch.io. And I can do this as well. So there was this function thing. So let me just say send. You just clicked. That's what's supposed to be the response. And status is 200. Time was 822 milliseconds. And 16 bits of data were being sent. That's perfect, folks. Like this to me is like an end-to-end application which is just phenomenal. Like a zero code, amazing set of insights. from my side. So all the builds that just happened just work the same way here as well. So you guys can see that 822 milliseconds, everything was being considered. So let's just create a new one. So why to waste time? So was it a conception model or else anything? Designer, workflows, connections, designers. Where are you, designer? So this is there. This is reacting as an Azure Functions. Oh, right. Oh, it should be in a conception format, right? I can go to the conception thing. I can go ahead and do that. So something as Vishwas, group name, yeah. I don't know, log analytics. Keep that in your pocket and we can go ahead. So that's what I showed. Standard doesn't give. Sorry for that. Standard doesn't give the designer, but the conception model will give you the designer. So that's there. That's perfect here. So yes, seeing it. So yes. So let's say, okay, let's just do the deployment also. It's a very simple move. Just go to the models here, voting symbols. There is a tab which says deploy here. So click on it, you will be good to go, or else you can download it. The model.pickle file, the YAML files for the environments, and everything will be there for you right now. So right now, you need not have to worry about that kind of a deployment, but we can do automated versions of it. So let's say Vishwas, and there will be an 345 at gmail.com, 2345. Let's just keep it 2345. Is your container instance. I don't want to enable authentication. Just click on the deploy. The magic just happens seamlessly. Like it's being deployed right now, right? So successfully deploying. So the status is still in the deployment, like it's just creating it. So of course it's an unhealthy stage ka matlab it's not yet being deployed and it's an unreachable link that is being generated. But you can go ahead, you can start working towards it. Like this is a container instance. Let's see how it works. So designer, I want you designers to be here. So it automatically went there. So that's perfect. What I can do is a very simple move. I can click on this HTTPS kind of a trigger. This will give me the same old functionality which used to be there on your thing. And I am saying that there will be a method which will be initializing it, and that will be a get method. And let's click on a new step. And for this, I want a response here. Response. And I will be looking at the actions here instead of the triggers. It's just like, okay, it's a blob storage trigger, Cosmos DB trigger and everything, but I want a response here. So what I will just do is very simple. I'll just say Vishwas, and there'll be different things. And if I run this trigger, see the magic. Until now, it has no URL which is being generated. Right now, this URL will be generated for me. So this URL, after we save it, oh, sorry for that. So there is no URL which is being generated. So the URL is now generated. If I say run trigger, it will just start running it. And there you go. There you have it. You just ran an entire response here, and that was being sorted for you, right? So this is how an end-to-end machine learning process is also considered. And of course, it's in a unhealthy state now. It will take some time. The deployment will take some time. Wait for 5 to 6 minutes. The deployments will be up and running for you. So, and meanwhile, we also can go ahead have a lot of questions. So, code view, you go there, you get the same old code view and everything which is being sorted for you here. So, I think to me, like everything what I'm just seeing here is an end-to-end application that we are doing. So you can see that template, discard changes, like it will just go ahead and it will start running. So go out, just explore this tool as well. Let's just look at the deployment and just go out. So it's a very uncomplex thing that is just happening. So just that thing. So let's see what happens in hopscotch. Wow. So I do this. I say send. Whoa. It just received Vishwas and perfect. We were able to just go ahead and grab the information even on hopscotch. It is just like a postman itself. So don't worry about that. So it gives me an REST API and a Swagger thing which comes up here. So let's see how much we can start working here. Man, this is so cool, but it takes a little bit of time. Model will be little heavy and all these things. Like I can show you how that file also looks like. So I can extract all and show you how that file looks like. Simple commands, instrumentation key, everything which is being taken care here. You can just deploy it on any of the Azure function apps or anything. Still works seamlessly. Like this is my sister's laptop, which is having Windows 10. I have Windows 11, so I was not able to install much here. So that's what. So I think just wait for this deployment, or else there are other sessions that I've done on this endpoint states as well. So you guys can go check it out. So transitioning is also unhealthy, unscheduled is also unhealthy, failed is yes, LT is also yes. So let's see whether this is failed or anything. Man, this is the problem with not doing the demos earlier for these kind of workloads. If you don't do it, you have to suffer a lot. Let's see. We can deploy 10 of it at that given point of time. So yes. Oh, there is no
Vishwas
compute
sir,
instance. Yeah.
uh, are we over with the content you plan to deliver today?
Like just one demo that I just wanted to do. This one
Yeah, please.
container instance endpoint. Like this endpoint just gets done. So that's perfect for me. So generate me an endpoint, please, very fast. It's transitioning, so it will just come in a while. It will just come in a while. So I can test it as well. So let's just go do the testing part. If the deployment happens or not, that doesn't matter. By the way, I'm not Vishwas sir, dude. I just realized that you called me sir. Man, that's fine, but like don't call me sir next time. That's it. So test models, it's here. So I will just use a compute cluster or a compute instance. Compute instance, I'll just use this. I'll say sample data sets is here. Sample diabetes. Let's say. Let's test it off. So test results are here, and of course it will be saved. Man, this is something cool. Like if you just click on this is just a run which just happened. Like it's just saying like how much is the variance and everything which is being taken and considered here, and everything end to end. You can just do it here. So you can see that what was the child run, what was the status of it, and if you parse it through any of the JSON viewers or anything, you will be able to get it. This is still transitioning. Like let's see. We plan till 8, right? So we can just be till here 8 o'clock or something. Like that's not a problem. So we'll move ahead with all the demos. So that's not a way. So endpoint deployment in progress. So this is the problem with this thing, this kind of an input, man. Just a little bit of an work. That's it. We can go ahead with it, not an issue. Data transformation. So I can show you one of the steps where the data transformations were also considered and how it just came out. So this was also being considered. All the different matrices of different models will also come up here, and you can start viewing all the graph which is required for you. Explanation of the model which has been also done here, so you guys can go check that out. Test model is in the preview. Explain model. God, you just you just go nuts with this, like as much as possible. So see that I just ran all the test results and it just came up here for me. So same old matrices that I really wanted and all the matrices that I really wanted to study just came here. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So I think healthy ka matlab there is already an endpoint. Let's see. What is the endpoint of it? List out of the range. So let's see hopscotch. .io. So I just go for the hopscotch. I just go here and this will also come up here. So let's say score and one something. Let's say score and one. Just out of the range. Like this will happen because a lot of other applications were also considered. But you can see that, right? All the things related to your machine learning services, versioning of it, everything was sorted here. So right now, this is the best form of it. Like if you just want to access all these kind of info, it's impossible. Swagger just made it easy. So this is what I wanted to say in terms of DevOps, in terms of the services perspective, how they're very closely related to the DevOps services that we are doing. And pretty much we completed everything that we wanted to do. And thank you so much, folks. Means a lot when you guys have that time and the patience. And that's the end of the show. Thank you so much, folks. And Varun, we can end the broadcast.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, you are audible.
Thank you very much, sir, for continuation of this second day of DevOps. I hope the learners would have been benefited by your session. Thank you very much, sir, for coming here. And sorry, I have again said you, sir. Thank you, mentor, for coming here and delivering your precious knowledge to each and everyone. See you all
Yeah.
tomorrow. Also, we are having a new session with the
Azure
DevOps topic
boards.
tomorrow. So
Yeah.
see you all there. Bye.
Thank you so much, folks.